The dust hasn't even settled after the general election, and already the economic pressures on Rachel Reeves are starting to pile up. With billions in welfare promises reversed and market jitters nudging up borrowing costs, Labour's Chancellor faces a blunt reality. The numbers don't add up. Now, with the autumn budget looming, the government needs to fill a growing fiscal black hole fast. But here's the kicker. Labour promised not to raise taxes on working people. So, what taxes can they raise? In this video, we'll break down the potential tax hikes coming in 2025, what's being considered, what's controversial, and how it could affect you. Back in spring, Reeves patched together a budget by including £5 billion in savings from welfare reform.
Today, the OBR have said that they estimate that the package will save £4.8 billion in the welfare budget.
That money? It's completely off the table. The £5 billion in welfare savings Labour had relied on has disappeared, and not by accident. A major backbench rebellion from the left of the party forced a dramatic welfare U-turn, reversing benefit reforms that were meant to generate those savings. The result? A critical funding pillar collapsed overnight, leaving Rachel Reeves scrambling to fill the hole. And on top of that, there's a fresh £1.25 billion bill for reversing cuts to winter fuel payments. Add in rising gilt yields, which means more expensive government borrowing, and the pressure to raise new revenue is now at crisis levels. UK government debt is currently at roughly 100% of the country's GDP. That means Britain owes as much as it produces annually, a stark indicator of how stretched the public finances have become. It's not a full-blown crisis just yet, but it's a flashing warning light for any chancellor trying to borrow more or delay tough fiscal choices. The options aren't pretty. Income tax, frozen but not forgotten. Labour pledged not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT.
I do want to be clear that the manifesto commitments we made about not increasing those key taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and VAT, those commitments stand.
But there is a loophole, one that the Tories used repeatedly, and that's the freeze on tax thresholds. Right now, the income tax thresholds are frozen until 2028. That means as your salary rises, even just with inflation, you can get pulled into a higher tax bracket without any actual tax rates changing. It's called fiscal drag. Extending this freeze to 2030 could raise an extra £9.2 billion, but it's politically risky. Why? Because back when Rachel Reeves was the Shadow Chancellor, she called this kind of move a stealth tax and accused the government of pickpocketing the public. So, if Labour does it now, it's a direct contradiction of their past messaging. If fiscal drag isn't enough, Labour could break their manifesto pledge and outright raise income tax. That's a nuclear option, but it is on the table. Just adding a single penny to the basic rate could raise about £7 billion. Tweaking the higher rate might bring in another £1.6 billion. Would it work? Yes. Would it be popular? Absolutely not. Given the current poll ratings, both Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are politically boxed in. With public trust eroding and internal party divisions exposed, they can't afford to take any risks. Any controversial move, especially on tax or welfare, could trigger another backlash and further destabilise their standing. A different option is cash ISAs, quiet but costly. Let's talk savings. The government has its eyes on the nation's £20,000 cash ISA allowance. Here's what's being floated. Slash the amount you can save in a cash ISA from £20,000 to as low as £4,000, but leave the overall £20,000 annual ISA limit unchanged. The idea is to push people towards investing in stocks instead of saving cash. Why? Because cash ISAs cost the Treasury £2.1 billion in lost tax revenue last year. Cutting the allowance could claw some of that back, but it's a gamble, especially for savers who aren't comfortable with investment risk. There's already a lot of apprehension about the UK economy, and when people feel uncertain, they tend to save more, not less. Consumer sentiment remains fragile. According to Teneo's H2 2025 UK Economic Outlook, saving ratios have soared to their highest levels since 2015, excluding the COVID period, as cautious households hold back spending amid uncertainty. A separate JP Morgan survey finds UK households increasingly favour cash savings over investing, reflecting widespread anxiety even in the face of low returns. So, while the Treasury may see ISAs as low-hanging fruit, politically and socially this could be a misstep, punishing savers at a time when they're simply trying to protect themselves. The giant in the room is pension tax relief, £42.5 billion. That's how much pension tax relief costs the government every year. Right now, higher earners get a sweet deal, tax relief of 40% or even 45% on their contributions. One proposal being floated? Scrap that and introduce a flat 30% relief for everyone. That could raise £3 billion, but it would also mean some people pay tax twice on their income, once when they earn it and again when they withdraw their pension. Another option is to reduce the amount people can take from their pension tax-free. Currently £268,275. Again, unpopular but effective. The headline rate of corporation tax is currently 25%. Raising it by just 1 percentage point could bring in £4 billion. The problem? Labour promised not to touch it, and they've already whacked businesses with higher national insurance for hiring workers. So yes, it's possible, but it would be yet another broken promise. A wealth tax? Still unlikely. Some Labour MPs, particularly from the left, have long dreamed of a wealth tax on the ultra-rich. Think billionaires, people with more than £10 million in assets. One version of the idea could raise £10 billion a year. But here's the issue. No country has ever successfully implemented a wealth tax that raises serious revenue. The rich move, assets get hidden, definitions get blurred. Paul Johnson from the Institute for Fiscal Studies has said it bluntly. It sounds good on paper, but doesn't work in practice. Plus, Reeves ruled it out before the election, and she's unlikely to reverse that call, especially with global investors watching closely. Here's the big picture. Labour promised not to hit working people with tax hikes, but unless there's a sudden growth miracle or massive spending cuts, Reeves will have to find the money somewhere. The stealthiest option is threshold freezers, which quietly raises taxes without raising tax rates. The boldest is breaking the manifesto and increasing income tax. The riskiest, a wealth tax. Each option comes with trade-offs, but as things stand, Reeves may have no choice but to pull one or several of these levers. All of this sets up a deeply uncomfortable political scenario. Labour swept into power, promising change and economic responsibility, but also fairness. Yet, raising money from savers, pensioners, or high earners all has consequences. And doing it without appearing hypocritical will be tough. The longer Reeves delays tough decisions, the more pressure the markets may apply. That could mean higher interest rates, even bigger deficits, and further political backlash.